She says, "The State Department of Education wants me to punish you." I said, "Punish me for what?" She said, "Well, for reviewing the test." And I said, what do they mean, reviewing the test? And she said, "Well, you found an error in the test, and they say you weren't supposed to read it." I'm Steve Weinberg. I taught for 40 years in Oakland, California. I'm going to tell the story of one time when I actually did have an effect upon the testing industry. One of the things that I hated throughout my teaching career was standardized tests and how many bad questions were on the tests. You couldn't help the kids in any way, couldn't even tell them, skip that question, there's no good answer to it. And if you tried to report the error, you just ran into a labyrinth of offices and phone numbers and excuses, but no one ever took your complaint seriously, and nothing ever happened. About 3 years ago, I saw an error on the test, and I decided to call the State Department of Education, and I was pretty sure they were going to tell me what they had told me in past years when I had done this, which is, "Oh, we're not interested. All our tests have been carefully vetted by a prime committee of teachers who are excellent and would never let any mistake get by. Additionally, it would be a violation of my confidentiality agreement even to tell them about the mistake on the test, that I had sworn not to tell anybody about it, so there was no way I could report it. But I called anyway, and this time, lo and behold, I got somebody who said, "Oh yes, we're very interested in hearing about this. Tell your district testing coordinator and then tell them to report it to us." And so I followed those instructions. And I went to the district testing coordinator and I showed her the problem on the test, and she took notes on it and took the test booklet, and I thought everything was taken care of. About 2 months later, the district testing coordinator calls me back during the summer, and she says, "We have a big problem. Please come down and see me." And I said, "Well, there's nothing in the confidentiality agreement or the affidavit we sign that says we don't read the tests. In fact, when we give the test to students who have certain IEPs, we have to read certain questions." And so I know the affidavit. I was very careful not to violate it. And she said, "Well, they're still very mad about it, so I've got to strip you of being testing coordinator. You cannot be in charge of the testing at your site anymore." My first thought was, gee, I could probably put out a video on how to get yourself out of being site testing coordinator, make a lot of money, because this is a thankless job that nobody wants, and it was hardly a punishment to take it away from me. But then my pride was wounded in this idea that they thought I had done something wrong when all I'm trying to do is report an error on the test to them. So I knew the person she had talked to, and so I called the man up at the State Department of Education and said, "I understand you told the district testing coordinator that she needed to punish me." I said, "What did I do that was wrong?" And he said, "Well, we don't want you to read the test." And I said, "Well, I understand that, but you didn't put that in the affidavit. The affidavit didn't say I won't do anything that you didn't want me to do. The affidavit said I would not review the tests with anyone, and I didn't." And he said, "Well, you reviewed the test yourself." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you know, you read it very carefully. That's like reviewing it. So you reviewed the test." And I said, "Well, even if that were true, even if you think review does mean the same as read, the affidavit says I would not review the test with anyone. And I didn't review the test with anyone. I was all by myself. So do you want to hear what the problem is on the test that you've given to thousands of kids and you're about to score that's going to have an incorrect question on it?" And he said, "Well, no, that would have to go through channels." And I said, "Well, I tried to go through the channels that you told me to go through." He said, "Well, maybe that we'll have the math person contact your testing coordinator and find out what the detail was of the math question that you found the problem with." And that never happened. So the state never did find out what the problem was on the test. But the next year, when the manual came out and the affidavit was in, the affidavit now says that you will not review the test with anyone or alone. So that is my contribution to the testing system and my effect upon standardized tests.
I guess it would be against policy for you to tell us what the test question was.